What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 33 of the Hoop Venue podcast. My name is Tyler, and as always, I'm joined by my great friend Sean. We're pretty much exactly 1 month removed from the NBA playoffs at this point. Things are heating up. Quentin Grimes continues to be the best player in the NBA. In all seriousness, though, before we get into our regularly scheduled programming, well, that was rough. Someone was asking about what our plan is for the offseason, and I wanted to quickly just say we've got all types of stuff planned. Historic, free agency, trades, draft, all that good stuff. So, yes, the podcast will keep going in the offseason. Maybe not as consistently or as long of episodes, but we will definitely still be producing consistently in the offseason. Sean is in LeBron James mode right now.
I hope me to crack.
Oh God. I hope the camera. I do the smart scenes, so I don't know if the camera's gonna cut to you at all during that intro. I hope it just cuts to a still of you at some point while I'm talking. Sean's got the state championship in 2 days. 2 days?
Today at the time it is being released.
Today, yeah, I forgot. Okay, so at the time of this is being released, we're only a few hours removed from Sean's state championship coaching season. Let's all give a clap, not just for his current success, but a preemptive, futuristic. Look at, he's got the medals and everything. This guy is locked in. I'm gonna get medals like that for podcasting with that absolutely treacherous intro I just had. Yes, let's all wish Sean good luck and congratulations on a season. Hopefully, it ends in a state championship. Let's talk about probably the most fascinating thing, in my opinion, in the NBA this season. It's not Sean's sunglasses. It's not Sean's state championship. It's not this podcast or the channel or anything. It is the fact that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is flat out having one of the best seasons ever. And I feel like we say that a lot. We use that term lightly, even just to describe Shai. Earlier this year, he just keeps taking leaps. Like, he just keeps getting better and better every single game. In the month of March, he's averaging 38 points a game on 50, 40, 90. He's been shooting like damn near 40% from three in the calendar year of 2025. So he's just like an elite three-point shooter. Now, to go along with the fact that he's like the best at everything else. Yeah, so let's just start there, Sean. Like, how are you feeling about Shai's season and how it stacks up historically?
This is how I want to kind of start off the Shai discussion. I have a lot of gripes, I think, with sports media and how sports is, specifically the NBA field is covered or whatever. But one of the biggest things that I think is really, really aggravating is you have this new up and coming. I hate that it takes so long to crown or acknowledge the fact that a team is really, really good. I hate that we have to. We did it with Jokic even, and maybe I don't even know if it was to this level. And I think Jokic has in ways gotten better since the 2021s of the world, where he's putting teams on his back with literally guys who are not in the league the next year, like Will Barton. Oh my God, what was that team? You had no MPJ. It was Jeff Green, Will Barton.
Monte Morris was the one. They're
Aaron Gordon, but year one Aaron Gordon.
Their backup point guard was Facu Campazzo. They had Marcus Howard playing playoff minutes.
But oh no, Jokic didn't win a title or whatever yet, or he's the 6th seed and whatever, right? I hate that we have to. And I guess this is ring culture or whatever, but I hate that we wait so long to crown you, and then what in turn happens is we kind of overreact when it is time to crown you, because it's almost it's the same effect of a makeup call in basketball. All right, I didn't call that travel. Okay, cool. To make up for, I'm gonna give you one back, but the one I give you back might be an even more egregious example of, if that makes sense. You're making up for the fact that you spent this entire time, not giving them the credit that was already there, if that makes sense. And it's been this way all year with OKC as a team, for one, because all year it's been, remember the show we said that they had a historic defense, relatively speaking, and we got crapped on for it? When that is That's a actual fact. Relatively speaking, like era adjusted or whatever, they are a historic defense. Talent-wise and metrically, they are a historic defense. Chet Holmgren is a top 4 defensive player on the planet. The level of defensive talent from guards, wings, and bigs, and how they all rotate, are all on the same string at the exact same time, all the time, is historical. It's the same thing with Shai. And the amount of times, and I'm sure you've also in some capacity have encountered this, the amount of times that I've went on Twitter and have talked about Shai, and the response is one of two things. A, oh my God, he's a free throw baiter. It's just such unethical. Or that won't happen in the playoffs. When we literally saw a playoff run last year where he averaged an efficient 30. It's not like it'd be one thing if he was the reason why they didn't, if he severely underperformed against Dallas and that was the example of why they didn't advance to the Western Conference Finals. By the way, the team they lost to, refresh memory, was the team that went to the finals and lost to the juggernaut that was Boston. Shai was the only thing that went right essentially for OKC in that series. He put the team on his back to get those 2 games. Like, the Shai conversation is unfortunately annoying because of what you said. Like, he's having an all-time great season, and this stretch is insane to that point.
Yeah, to your point, in the Mavericks series, Shai was playing 41 minutes a game. He averaged 32 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists on 60% true shooting. Averaged 2 turnovers a game. He turned the ball over 12 times in 6 games in the playoffs. And mind you, that's the exact same Mavericks defense that gave Jason Tatum a ton of trouble in the finals, gave Jaylen Brown a ton of trouble in the finals, made Anthony Edwards look like legitimately poor for most of the Western Conference Finals. The Mavericks defense was one of the best defensive teams the whole second half of the season after making those trades. They threw everything at Shai. They tried blitzing, they tried trapping, they tried zoning up basically like a box and one, they tried walling off the paint, and he just time and time again surgically got to his mid-range spots and just cooked. And then this season, he's considerably better than he was last year in the regular season or in the playoffs. He's just a completely different player this year. And now we're looking at, like, these indicators where, like you said, people are scared to make the claim, like make the assumption of what we're witnessing. And I've never been afraid. Like, I was already on the train. I was calling Jokic an all-time great during the 2021 regular season before he had ever won an MVP because I knew what I was watching. I was watching the Nuggets on a nightly basis, and I was like, this is absolutely absurd. I did the same thing with Steph Curry in 2021. When they were losing games in the season with no fans, and they were a losing team, and he was playing with Kelly Oubre and James Wiseman for like 80% of his minutes.
How about the year they lost in a play-in?
Yes.
Where he was an MVP caliber player.
Dude, that from start to finish, I thought Steph Curry was the best player in the world during the 2021 season. Even after the Bucks won the finals and Giannis had that historic finals performance, I didn't waver. I had Steph as my number 1 guy in my end of season player rankings because I knew what I was watching. Then 2022, they get Clay back, they get a healthy team, they win a championship, and now everyone, like, I don't want to say I'm ahead of the curve. All I'm trying to say is that I'm not afraid to make claims of what I'm seeing before it happens because there will be insane revisionism. If the Thunder just go into the playoffs and blitz everyone will look back and be like, oh yeah, Shai had one of the best seasons of all time from start to finish. That's already the case. I don't need to see it in the playoffs. I don't need to see the Thunder win the finals. If the Thunder lose the finals, that doesn't change what Shai is doing right now. Yeah. This is just start to finish an all-time great, like, GOAT level wing season. It's absurd what we're witnessing. And yeah, to your point on like the foul baiting and all of that stuff, every time it pops up on my Twitter, I just put not interested and mute it. So I have a ton of accounts muted on both sides. Like if I see a Thunder fan like doing some weird thing to like basically say that Jokic is a fraudulent player, I just mute him. Same thing if I see some Jokic fan saying, yeah, Shai's actually a foul baiter. The Thunder play at a 55-win pace without him. Yeah, I just mute it because that is adding nothing of value to a basketball conversation. I have a pretty beautiful Twitter For You page these days, and I don't have anyone blocked. It's just like you just click not interested. Eventually, you kind of mold your For You page to see the stuff you want to see, and you do want to see opposing viewpoints. Like I want to see a counter case to Shai's MVP. I just don't want it to be some weird regurgitated media narrative thing where it's like, yeah, he's baiting fouls. Because let's be honest, his foul rates aren't even crazy. He averages like 8.5, 9 free throws a game, which for his style of play and how much pressure he generates is actually on the lower side. Like you look at Wade, Kobe, Jordan, those guys are like 11, 12. James Harden, 12. Shai's at like 9. Shai's at a perfectly normal, like superstar free throw rate. And I'm actually, spoiler alert, working on like a mega Shai video. And I was watching a lot of the fouls he draw. Also, I don't know if you caught the Thinking Basketball video on this, on like Shai's foul drawing. It's all just, yes, there is a little bit of embellishing. Like he obviously is selling contact, but it's not like he's going into a drive and looking like, okay, I'm going to create contact on this drive and I'm going to find a way to grift. It's like, okay, I got around my defender and he tried to grab me to keep me in front. He tried to grab me. Something just caught Sean's eye.
So we're talking about the the driving stuff, right? And how insane Shai is as a driver, and how if you look at as much as he is driving or whatever, that like duh, right? And it just is placed out to your point, right? Dating back to 2019, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has 3 of the 4 best seasons ever in terms of drives per 75 possessions. 2021, 27 drives per 75. 2022, 27 drives per 75. That's stupid.
A third of the possessions he's on the court, he's driving the ball.
2022, 24.7 drives per 75. Last year, 24.4. 2023, 23.6. This is number 7, by the way, since 2019. And then you got you got some peak John Morant numbers there. Shout out TJ McConnell, Hooper. Shout out Pistons, Derrick Rose. 2022 Luka was special. Zion this year is basically on the level of Shai for this year. Like, he's literally over the past 5-6 years or whatever been the most consistent and best driver in the NBA.
Yeah.
And has now added like a legit 3.
I'd like to point out that this season he's averaging 16 points a game on drives on 67% true shooting as a driver, which is just like mind-boggling. Like 16 on 67% true shooting would just be an elite scorer as a role player, and that's only Shai driving. There's so much more that goes into his game, but yeah, to the point on the fouls, he is the toughest player in the league to stay in front of, and I don't even think that's close. You cannot stay in front of him. The change of pace, the handle, the craftiness, and the footwork, the strides, like you cannot, there's no one in the league who can stay in front of him on back-to-back possessions. And then what happens when you're getting beat, and anyone who's ever tried to defend someone like that in their life can speak from experience, your first instinct when someone's like getting around you is to try and like grab and hold, to get back in front, like kind of move them back. Shai will feel that bump and immediately contact, like kind of just like sells it, right?
Or even like, you remember that Chris Paul video from a couple years back where he's on like JJ's podcast? He's talking about like people complaining about him doing the rip through or whatever.
Yeah,
that's a basketball play.
Right.
Like, there was a foul against Boston where like Jaylen Brown, if he has his arm or his hand on Shai's arm, and Shai like just pulls up, and it forces the contact right there. I'm hitting my mic. That is a foul.
Yeah.
If I have to exaggerate that, okay, like you want me to not do that? If I'm like, no.
And another thing, I would say the big complaint, if you have a complaint with Shai and the contact thing, I would say the number one complaint should be that he probably gets away with a lot of offensive fouls. Because one thing I noticed, because obviously he uses the shoulder, and that's a pretty normal thing. He's always bumping people. He does extend the arm a lot, but he's always super quick to pull it back. So usually players get called for the offensive foul when they push off and then the arm sticks out. I think Tatum gets called for that a lot. Like a push off with the arm and then you can visibly see the arm sticking out. Shai does that, the chicken wing, but then he pulls it back so quick that once the separation is created, you can't see the arm anymore, so the ref never sees it. But when you watch it back with like these close-up cameras, you're like, oh, that's a really bad, like that should have been an offensive foul. That would be the complaint. The thing is, he's quick with it, he's crafty with it, it doesn't get called. So what happens is, defenders know it's coming and they push him first. That's a foul every time. If the defender pushes against a shoulder bump before the bump happens, it's going to be a foul. So Shai just draws a bunch of legitimate fouls. Like, he's getting fouled. Sure, he sells the contact, but that's the smart thing to do. If you're going to get pushed out of a drive, why would you, like, Anthony Edwards was the example Ben Taylor used in his video. Like, he powers through the contact every time, and maybe that's like better to watch, but it's just worse for the team because why would you want to get fouled and keep playing through? That's another thing, like why LeBron doesn't get to the line as much as a guy like Kobe did, because LeBron just powers through the contact because he's so strong. Shai's strong, but he's also like wiry in his frame. He's very skinny, so if he gets thrown off balance, he's gonna sell the contact. And guess what? He makes 90% of his free throws. He's shooting free throws at the rate of peaks of like the percentage of peak Steph Curry, but he gets to the line almost 10 times a game. Do you know how valuable that is for a team? For a player to get to the line 10 times and make 90% of them. That's just like 10 possessions where you're getting 2 points.
Yeah.
So I hate that people like view that as a negative. That is one of the best things you can do as an offensive player.
It's consistently put pressure on the rim and consistently get to the line and shoot free throws at the level. Or another one that you'll see a lot is people get mad like the shot fake jump into like Kobe wasn't a master at that.
And I feel like Shai doesn't do that nearly as much as like people make it out to be.
Yeah.
Like Dwayne Wade used to do that like every other play.
But
the only egregious one I've seen with Shai was the one on Westbrook, where he actually jumped the wrong way on his jumper. That was crazy.
Yeah.
But like, and then of course that clip gets blown to the moon, and now everyone's like, "Oh, that's what he does every time." He did that once. That was the one time he. I could admit that was kind of egregious, but every other one is legit. And that if that's your one complaint with Shai, that he embellishes the fouls too much, let's talk about everything else he does. In the calendar year of 2025. He's shooting 38% on pull-up threes. So we're just talking about, like, super efficient off-the-dribble three-point shooting. He is, on the season, attempting 11 mid-range shots per 75 and making 51% of those. So we're just talking, like, peak Kevin Durant mid-range scoring at this point. He is shooting 63% on 6 layups per game, which, by the way, he's shooting a higher percentage on layups than Giannis. So now we have a guy who's shooting better on layups than Giannis, shooting better from mid-range than Kevin Durant, and shooting 38% on off-the-dribble threes. What else do we need to say? 72% at the rim, 2.5 turnovers per game while having the ball for 7 minutes per game. The OKC is first in the league in the least amount of turnovers because the ball's always in Shai's hands and he never turns it over. Dude, if you just go through the numbers, across the board in all of the different like tracking areas for Shai, the stuff doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Like, for example, when you think of Shai, okay, I want you to picture Shai for a second, and you think of how he gets to his scoring. What is the play type you associate with Shai scoring?
ISOs.
Easily, right? Easily. What if I told you he's averaging 8 points a game in isolation on 1.09 points per possession? That sounds pretty good, right? Sounds pretty good. What if I told you in the pick and roll he's averaging 10.5 points on 1.12 points per possession? So he's actually been better in the pick and roll than he has in isolation.
To be fair, I literally just pulled up his synergy stuff, so I'm going to play your game and be surprised. But no, like literally.
The pick and roll, he's the best. Dude, I was thinking about this earlier. How many guys in NBA history can you undoubtedly, because I'm at a point where I'm going to say it's undoubtedly, because I think if you go just strictly perimeter isolations, some other guys make a decently interesting case. But if you go perimeter isolations, face-up standstills, and back to the basket, I think Shai is pretty easily the best isolation scorer in the league right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right?
I thought you were going to go like historical and say like of all time or something.
No. He's getting there. Don't get me wrong.
Right now, yeah.
Okay,
Shai's the best like pure one-on-one scorer in the league right now.
We agree there. He's the best one-on-one scorer in the league. He has the highest efficiency of any pick and roll scorer with at least 3 points a game. And he's averaging 10.5 points a game, which is second in the NBA. And so I think he's pretty. It's Trae Young, but it's on like 0.9 points per possession just because he runs so many of them. So my question is, how many players in NBA history have at the same time been undoubtedly the best isolation and best pick and roll scorer in the league? The only guy I could think of was James Harden.
James Harden. Okay.
Who else? Like LeBron comes to mind, but I don't think he was undoubtedly the best ISO scorer when like Kevin Durant was peaking.
Yeah, because
And then it's like Michael Jordan. Like, did they even run pick and roll for Michael Jordan? Really?
just bazzing triangle and mid post face ups for MJ.
Yeah, like, and then I'm thinking like Kobe was probably close, but like just strictly as a pick and roll scorer, like I feel like Steve Nash was probably a little bit more dangerous. Even though, and it's weird because like Kobe had more shooting volume out of it, I would assume, but like
Yeah.
Chris Paul too. Like you have like Hornets Chris Paul during those years is probably a better pick and roll scorer.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking at the landscape of the league. Like the only player who could rival Shai as a pick and roll scorer in the league right now is probably Luka, who we'll talk about in a sec. But I think like this year, it's easily been Shai.
And I'm sure one of the reasons why it's easily Shai is going to be also talked about when we get to Luka as well.
Yes. So
I know exactly where you're going there.
So yeah, we'll wait to get into that. So this is basically where I'm going with the Shai thing. Undoubtedly, in my opinion, the best ISO and pick and roll scorer. One of like 2 or 3 players who could ever say that. Shai is also, after Giannis, Shai is the best transition scorer in the league. So now we're talking about a top 2 transition scorer, number 1 isolation scorer, number 1 pick and roll scorer. He's, like I said, never turns the ball over. So probably I would say Brunson and Halliburton are the 2 best at taking care of the ball, in my opinion. I'd say Shai's 3rd. So top 3 ball security. And now he's like adding a little bit more off-ball stuff. Like the spot up 3 ball has been really reliable. They're running more through iHeart as a passing hub. Shai's been playing off of cuts, off of handoffs. They do the occasional like off pin down mid-range jumper type of setup. Mm-hmm. And I'm just gonna ask you, man, like, is Shai like a top 5 to 7 scorer in NBA history right now? Like, I'm thinking about it. Like, I was thinking about it earlier with like
what
the players.
Your list?
I'm not gonna go in order because I do not feel like going into like scorers in order. I think Michael Jordan's the best scorer ever. I think after that you have a three-headed goat, we'll call it, of LeBron, KD, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And this is just peaks, by the way. I'm not going for longevity here. I just think Kareem at his peak, like get him the ball in the post, and you're guaranteed super efficient
wait,
shot.
really quick. We're talking like just offensive scoring in general, right?
Just scoring, just putting the ball in the basket.
Okay, keep going.
As effectively as possible in a playoff setting, and that kind of goes into where I think Shai's going to be like immune to playoff defenses. Like teams try everything. He's immune to doubles. He's immune to blitzes. He's immune to every pick and roll coverage. He's immune to zone. He gets to his spots every time. He's probably the best player at navigating space I've ever seen. Like, and just getting wherever and whereas guys have spots, his spot is the entire court. It doesn't matter. Like, he'll get to the baseline out of pick and roll. What are we doing? Like, what is that? I think after those 4 I mentioned, MJ, KD, LeBron, and Kareem, I think Shai has an argument over anyone else. I think you look at Shaq, you look at Steph, you look at Kobe, you look at Jokic. I think Jokic is in there. I think you look at Jerry West. I think you look at James Harden. I'm just trying to think of guys. Like, this is no order again. Like, there's a lot of guys. Kawhi Leonard, I think, would be in that mix somewhere in the playoffs. I think Shai can stack up against any of those guys. Now, would I take him over them? I don't know.
But he's in that like category. Okay, yeah.
He's in that group. Basically, what I'm getting at with this, and I've been ranting for like 15 minutes. I can't say enough about this Shai thing, and I'm sure people want to hear.
You're going to talk about it some more for 30 minutes in a video.
This is just like my podcast, Sean. You could just leave. I'm just gonna keep going. No, and he's got the sunglasses back on. I've officially hijacked the show with the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander talk. I just want to say one more thing. I just want to say one more thing on the Shai point. I think Shai has taken a serious leap in terms of playmaking reads. I think Shai is now consistently hitting the skip pass. He's always been a good shovel pass guy. I think Shai is like a couple like developmental passing reads. I don't know where I'm going with this, but like if he just went up one tier as a passer, I think Shai is like damn near GOAT offensive tier at this point. That's where I'm at. You can take the floor after that. I think Shai is like damn near approaching GOAT offense right now. It's absurd. It's an absurd player.
After you saying I'm done, I want to throw a question back to you. Actually, I'm curious. Like, what do you think? What do you think is right? 7-second, exit on your part. What do you think is the singular trait? It could be like physical trait, mental or whatever, right? What is the singular trait or skill that Shai has, in your opinion, that like makes him unfair as a scorer?
That's crazy because I think it's the way all of his unique traits like blend together, right? Like everything kind of plays into itself, into each other. Like it's like the handle unlocks this, the mid-range touch unlocks this. If I had to really narrow it down to one very specific quality, and I think you know where I'm going with this, I would say it's the deceleration.
Yeah.
I would say it's the ability to stop on a dime because that unlocks everything. It unlocks all of his step backs. It unlocks all of his finishing angles. It unlocks the entire mid-range for him. It allows him to get every defender off balance, whether that's in isolation or in the pick and roll. I think everything he does, and it just, I guess, start and stop in general, like start and stop athleticism, because you got to also factor in the initial change of pace. He's like, I think it's been said by his like training, like the guy he trains athletically with, that they try and teach Shai to operate like a car, where he like shifts between gears. Like I'm in third gear, now I'm in first. I'm in fourth, now I'm in second. Like starting, stopping every 5 seconds. No, not 5 seconds. Every 5 milliseconds, he's changing speeds. So I would say, yeah, if I have to narrow it down to one thing, I'm gonna say the change of speed. That just unlocks the entire floor for him.
Yeah. And okay, follow me here. Well, no, never mind, because I think Cade would like immediately like not qualify, because I was going, because I thought of Shai and Brunson. It's like these like D-cell like herky jerky type dudes. I was gonna say, is there a pattern you think with like those type of guys being like elite like ball security guys? And then I'm like, well, then you immediately go to like Cade, who is one of the higher volume. But even like Halliburton's a little bit herky jerky, not in the same way, but like
I think I see where you're going, and I think it is the combination of three things that ultimately leads to ball security, because I think it applies to Kawhi Leonard as too. I think it is change of speed, I think it is handle tightness, and I think it is strength.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think Halliburton's just a different type of ball security guy, where it's like he's just ultra good decision making.
Yeah.
And I think it applies to Chris Paul, though. Chris Paul's really strong for his size. And he has a super tight handle, and he's really good at starting and stopping. And he has the ultra good decision making, so he just never...
On top of that.
Chris Paul's just the perfect guard, basically, is what I'm getting at. But, like, yeah, historically,
30-minute Chris Paul glaze? I quit.
Yeah. I think it's strength, because I think a lot of guys turn the ball over after getting bumped or thrown off balance. You have to be on balance. I think it's handle tightness is the obvious one that Cade lacks. Cade has a very loose handle through gaps and through tight spaces. And then the ability to start and stop, because that means defenders' timing is off. You can't strip a guy if your timing's off. That sounded crazy, but you get what I'm saying. I think it is a combination of those three things.
A specific motion or timing that we were going for here. Do you know the technique personally?
I can't say that I do. I can't say that I do.
Okay.
I can't say that I do.
I was just asking.
I would say it's the three things. I would say it's the start and stop, handle tightness, and strength.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Which I guess we can loop that into another guy, because I think that applies to Luka as well. I think Luka excels in all three of those areas. But he's still a high turnover guy. And it applies to Harden as well. Harden has all of those three qualities, and he's a high turnover guy. And that's because, unlike Shai, those are two guys that actively hunt for the riskiest passes on the floor. So it's not handle turnovers, it is passing turnovers.
It's the gunslinger quarterback.
Exactly. And that has its benefits. Don't get me wrong. I think people both overvalue and undervalue turnovers, and I think it's more instructive to look at how they're created. Like, not all turnovers are created equal type thing. Like,
Yep.
Shai always taking care of the ball fits his play style because he's not hunting for risky passes. But if you're a super high level passer who's not going to get like 35 points a game, I think there is more value in turning the ball over. Like, I think this is actually one of Chris Paul's faults in comparison to a guy like Steve Nash, actively hunting for the toughest passes at all times. So yeah, I'll let you take the floor. Let's use that as a segue for Luka Doncic, playing for the Lakers. How have you felt about Luka this season, specifically with the Lakers? Because I'm sure you've caught a lot more of that.
Yeah. I do kind of want to start with the. Do we want to start with the rim stuff? Is that a fair place to start?
Yes, because I wanted to talk about that as well.
Okay. How concerned are you about that?
Very.
Okay.
That my actual like title for this segment was gonna be, has Luka seriously regressed? Because I was actually also worried about this last season, but it kind of didn't matter because one, he was having like an all-time great off the dribble 3-point shooting season. He attempted like 8 pull-up threes a game and made 38% of them. And then I had like the benefit of the doubt thing with the injury in the playoffs, right? But I was thinking about this earlier. I made a tweet the other day that I think 2023 Luka might be the most complete on-ball player I've ever seen.
That.
And it was because it was all of this stuff we're seeing now with like the surgical shooting, shot making, like pace play. But then he also like got to the rim twice as much, got to the line a lot more. And so yeah, I'm starting to get to a point where I'm concerned because I think Luka has improved on the margins where it's like he's more willing to play off ball. He's more willing to play with pace and look for outlet passes. But his superpower, which was downhill creation, in my opinion, has really, really regressed at this point to the point where I am comfortable saying that. Okay, I'm not gonna go there yet. I'm not gonna go. That's a topic I want to bring up in a sec. But yeah, to answer your question, too long, didn't listen. I'm worried. I think it might be an actual regression.
Okay, and I'm not going to sit up here and ignore that, it is the case. However, okay, so I guess like what I do come back to is like, why, and is it the injury, or basically like what is it attributed to? Now, if there is anything that can like ease some of the angst, if you will, is first off in Dallas this year, like we're talking easily his career low in rim frequency, like 13% of his shots in Dallas were the start of the year in the 22 or whatever games he played in Dallas. 13% of them were at the rim. For comparison, last season, that number is 15.8% of the regular season, which would have been his second lowest of his career before 2022 season would have been his lowest at 15%. And then the playoffs last year, sheesh, I know that was not low, 11% rim frequency last playoff run, 17% in 2022, 16% in 21-20. Oh my God, 26% rim frequency, and that's what in the bubble playoff run. The one thing that like kind of like has me again like kind of like, I don't know if relieves the word, but like calming some of the angst is that you're basically right now in 15 games somewhat near 2021. Like right now it's like 19% of his shot attempts are coming at the rim, where you go back to 2021 it was 20.9%, 2023 21.6%. So like the finishing isn't as good. I mean, actually no, it's basically on par with that. So like that's the one thing. It's not even like an eyeball thing. I'm more so just reading the data. It's like kind of like, let's see if we can not be at the 11% mark that we were at last. Because I'm not gonna lie, if it's at 11% in the playoffs, then my outlook on the Lakers, this Lakers team is a little bit different come playoff time. Like you need Luka to be at the 20% ish mark, and I'm hoping that's the case because Bron's Bron, right? But honestly, I'm not quite sure what to expect when Bron gets back, and it's not like a doubt for LeBron, but he's 40, coming off a groin injury. I'm actually curious where Austin's at so far on the year. But basically, if that number's at 11% and Austin Reeves has to become my like main downhill driver that in a playoff series. Love Austin Reeves to death. I think he's going to get a big bag on his next contract. And there's a lot of conversation about him being one of the better third options offensively in the league right now. But if Austin Reeves is my lone downhill driver in a playoff series, we have a problem. So yeah. I don't know if that kind of like eases some stuff or like explains my thought process. But with the driving and the rim play, I'm kind of for the time being a little bit more wait and see still.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think also one thing that kind of gets overlooked is Luka didn't have a real offseason because of the Olympics. And that was after the injured playoff run.
Yeah.
So he really hasn't had time to like regroup. So maybe like he could still be 2023 Luka with the added off-ball stuff, the added transition play. Because if that's the case, if we just get 2023 Luka's on-ball half-court game back with all of the other stuff he's added, that's just like a top 7, 8 offensive player ever. Like that's just a ridiculous offensive player because with Luka like regressing for the time being as a driver, you still have like all-time great passing, all-time great shot making, all-time great manipulation. Like I talked about ball security, he can get wherever he wants to go on the floor with pace. But we also talked about, I think maybe in our last episode or the episode before, how Boston's defensive scheme relies on guys not creating dribble penetration. And in the finals, Luka could not beat any of those guys off the dribble, which resulted in him just kind of chucking. And because he's such a good shot maker, yes, he can make all of those shots. But now the defense isn't in rotation. Now you're really streaky where you're going on really cold streaks, like missing like 23s. And then I think he only averaged like, I don't know how many assists he averaged in that series, but it felt like a very weak playmaking series.
I'm going to say it was like 3.5. That's my guess.
5.6, and he shot 24% from 3. So it's like you go cold from 3, you're not creating as much for your teammates, and your offensive...
Luka has 20 in the first quarter against Denver. Oh, God, I just cheated this episode. My bad.
Shout out. No, you're good. Shout out to Luka. Yeah, I think he's having these games with the Lakers that are like crazy shot, like against the Clippers when he went off in the first quarter. Like we're still seeing that peak Luka-esque type of stuff. It's just like you said, getting to the rim consistently because that's where he does most of his damage, and that's when the defense has to get creative with their coverages. Like he can pick apart every pick and roll coverage, but if you don't have to worry about the driving, there's stuff you can do to kind of force him into not creating advantages at the same rate. And this is where I wanted to go with this, right? Like, I think Luka, like I said, I think 2023 Luka, before he had some foot injuries, was the most complete on-ball player I've ever seen. But obviously, you still have off-ball limitations. He still was very limited to just half-court play at that point. He wasn't really pushing pace at all like he is now. And then, of course, the defense. It was, like, still a pretty clear negative defensively. My question for you is... the best of the best we've seen from Luka, is it better or worse than what we're seeing right now from Shai? He's got the sunglasses back on. He's not ready for this.
They're crooked somehow. I don't know how I managed to do that. God, do I have to answer? Like, gun to my head, my gut instinct says Luka. And it's simply because of the... Are we accounting defense, too, into this, obvious? Like,
yeah, just overall, like, who would you rather have if you're trying to win a championship at their peaks so far?
Like in a best-case scenario, give me 2023 Luka offensively before the injury, then give me, like, damn near current day defensive Luka, and just combine those two players.
Well, that's not a real player.
Well, yeah.
Bro just made a fake player. He doesn't want to answer the question, so he's in the lab. He's in the lab making clones.
Making clones and combining attributes and doing a bunch of other BS. It sucks because I think Luka's like at the peak of his powers offensively was such a liability defensively. That like that the answer like kind of then becomes Shai. But like the driving, and this is why like again there is legitimate reasons for concern with the driving, because the driving's when that's a problem, like you say, it gets the defensive rotation, and that's where he just becomes arguably the greatest playmaker of all time.
Right. Yeah.
And I think I said this the other day and got a little bit of pushback, but I mean, I'll push right back at it. Like, for sure, in terms like in a ball screen, like Luka's, I'm gonna say is the best playmaker out of a ball screen ever. Like,
I'm still taking Nash.
and that's fair, but
but Luka is on the short list, no doubt. No doubt. Like that Minnesota series, dude. Oh my, that was. I've never seen someone make a great defense look at that. I have, but the great defense looked absolute like fifth graders trying to guard a Luka pick and roll.
Yeah,
it was absurd. It was absurd.
And then again, like with the turnovers, because he is at the end of the day he is a high volume turnover guy. But this goes back to the point about like all turnovers are not the same thing, right? Okay, cool. He'll average 4 turnovers, but 4 turnovers for a guy that holds the ball or has 75 possessions with the ball is not the same for a guy that has 4 turnovers and 40 possessions. It's just not the same. And then it's like going back to my gunslinger comparison. It's like part of like what makes like I could obviously pick another guy. Part of what makes like you like Brett Favre as a quarterback. God.
Joe Flacco, bro. Joe Flacco.
Part of what makes you like Josh Allen, right? Maybe even like now, like he's like a little bit more reserved. Part of it is like, look, he has like the gunslinger mentality of like, look, I know I can throw every single pass on the field. It's like a cocky like swagger about it too. Like I can throw every single pass on the field or every single pass against any coverage on the court. There's nothing you can do about it. And then there'll be the occasional really, really bad like, ooh, I'm so much better than you, I'm going to force it or whatever. There's got to be the occasional one, right? But even then, like half the time, like I promise you there'll be a game where Luka will have 6 turnovers and you go back and watch him and like 3 of those are like his teammates not expecting him to throw the ball.
Yes, or just dropping it.
And that's where like, can we just reassign turnovers and make it you just drop the ball? Basically like a drop pass in football. So like, the turnovers for high volume playmakers aren't necessarily something that I'm going to dock you for, but in the same breath, if you're a Halliburton, then that could just be something that like just increases like your value in that way, if that makes sense.
Yes, I think it's like a floor raising versus ceiling raising thing. Like I think the high risk, high reward is the ultimate floor raising because you're going to end up creating a bunch of layups and corner threes. Yeah. But I think like with Halliburton, it's like my team's offense is so efficient because we get a shot every possession. And it's just like finding that, like that's why I think Nash is the best half-court playmaker ever and the best pick-and-roll playmaker ever because I think he hunted for those tight windows more than any other player and hit them more than any other player, but still was in like the 3.5 to 4 turnover range as opposed to like up to the 5. Yeah, so I'm with you. I like the high-risk, high-reward guys more than the play-it-safe guys. And I think Luka is one of those high-risk, high-reward who can make every pass on the floor at like 6'8". He's an absurd player. And now I'm going to put you on the spot for real because you dodged that last question. I'm not letting you dodge another one.
I did dodge. That's an elite dodge on my part.
No, this one you are answering.
I said Shai. No, I said Shai.
No, this one you are answering. You ready for this one? You are entering the playoffs.
Okay.
Fully healthy, your team is the 1 seed, and your playoff bracket is filled out. You need to win a championship, and you have 3 options as your centerpiece, and we're going to start bench cut these guys. Okay?
This is a great TikTok. You should clip this out.
Current Shai. 2023 pre-injury Luka.
Oh, you're not nice.
2019 James Harden.
You're not nice. 2019 Harden. Stupid. Current Shai, 2019 Harden, 2023 Luka. I value the playmaking though so much.
My question is though, like, so I was thinking about this earlier with the Shai thing, right? Playing really fast, because Shai plays really fast. He's always attacking an early offense. Defense collapses, unset. counters blitzes by getting around him every time, beats hedges,
Yeah.
touches, gets both feet in the paint every play. My question is, can you argue, and I'm not saying he's the same level of playmaker, but can you argue that by the end of the game, Shai has created damn near like similar quality shots for his teammates that those guys have? It just looks different.
It looks different, and like you said, it's like similar in the sense of like you also get the added benefit of like we're getting a shot.
Right, it's like the Michael Jordan thing. Like Michael Jordan's probably like a top 10 playmaker of all time, but there are like 30 better passers.
Yeah.
And it's just because Jordan created so much pressure that playoff defenses were just collapsing all the time. And I feel like Shai has that, not quite like Michael Jordan, but a similar type of effect. And then the defense. Like Shai's just a legitimately really good defender.
All right, I think I hate myself. I think I'm starting Shai, benching 19 Harden, cutting 23 Luka.
I can't decide on the Harden Luka. I am starting Shai, and I actually feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, I think I'm starting Shai.
I feel like I'm just high on Shai. I'm really high on Shai, dude. Like if he lets me down in the playoffs, then I'll just come back and do an apology pod or something. But I'm so confident that he's just gonna blitz defenses in the playoffs and just be this ultra weapon. He's so good. He was so good against Dallas last series. Like, please go rewatch that series and look at this guy in the playoffs. Not you, Sean, but anyone who's a doubter. I know you know what you were watching. I think my thing with Harden versus Luka is I think Harden was more dangerous with the first step and more dangerous as a downhill creator. Probably a better off the dribble 3-point shooter, although they're both really, really good. I think what's tough is I think Luka is very much a more versatile passer.
Yeah.
I think he makes more passing reads, but I also think Harden was just so good at the passes he wanted to make that it almost didn't matter. I think Luka having the mid-range game really adds another layer in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's tough. Who do you think's the better defender between those two?
19 Harden or 23 Luka?
Probably Harden.
Yeah.
I feel like. But it's like splitting hairs.
Not by much. Like, they're both bad defenders.
But they're both like kind of low-key switchable because they're both big bodies with super long arms, and they'll both get like a bunch of deflections and stuff. So it's like it's not like you get them out there and it's like, oh, we're cooked as like you can still build a really good playoff defense with those guys.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think gun to my head, taking Luka. Just because I think there's a little bit more flexibility with the mid-range and the versatile passing. But Harden was such a mismatch hunter. Like, teams just started switching because they didn't want to deal with the pick and roll. And then it was just like 20 points per game in isolation. I don't know, dude. I don't know.
And then eventually you're going to, like, naturally, like, help over a little bit more because he's just getting 18 points in a row in ISO. And then that's like, yeah.
Guarding him from behind.
Dog, oh my God, was that Ricky? That was Ricky Rubio, wasn't it? In the Jazz series,
the Bucks did it in the regular season with Bledsoe, and then the Jazz did it in the playoffs with Rubio, and just funneling him into Gobert. Also, one thing that gets overlooked about those Harden Rockets teams is they had like nobody that could play off the catch. Like they had to just shoot threes. They had to just shoot threes off of Harden's creation. Like, imagine if he was playing with, like, even just, like, Quentin Grimes. Well, not Philly Quentin Grimes, but normal Quentin Grimes.
But they're, like, hashtag March Hoops.
Yeah, no, but, like someone who could just attack a closeout and shoot. The only guy that could do that for them was Eric Gordon. Besides that, it was, like, Tucker, Ariza. Like, you're just shooting the three. Like, Ben McLemore.
That's a pull.
Who am I thinking of? There's someone, I mean, Covington was like that. There's someone I'm thinking of. Gerald Green was like that. Just a bunch of guys who are just going to shoot the three, and that's all they can do.
Yeah.
And they're not even that good of shooters. They're like 36%.
They're all, like, perfectly league average.
Yeah, it's like they're only there because they're going to shoot the corner three, not because they're going to make it.
Yeah.
Then he missed 27 straight. I don't know, but
Who wins? 18 Rockets, 18 Cavs.
Rockets destroy the Cavs in that series. I hate that that's a talking point. You have J.R. Smith and Jordan Clarkson as your backcourt defense against CP3 and James Harden. What are we doing?
CP3 was hurt.
Okay, so I'm assuming the scenario I always see is CP3 stays healthy, they beat the Warriors.
Well,
Okay, so if you say 2018 Rockets, no CP3 against 2018 Cavs, instead of Rockets in 5, it's Rockets in 6. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That Cavs team was whack, dude. Like, as good as LeBron was, that roster was whack.
so basic. Well, no, never mind. I was about to say something stupid. Ignore me.
What were you gonna say?
I was basically gonna pretend like they didn't make it to the finals and lose anyway. But yeah, I was gonna make like a legacy point and talking about how like ignore. Yeah, we
Okay.
can ignore that.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's ignore whatever that was.
Yeah,
No, but I wanted to
apologize.
use that. I wanted to use that as a transition to talk about James Harden right now, because he's still doing it.
That's an elite poll. Oh my god, good job podcasting. That's an elite
Like
transition.
that, after that rough intro, I had to redeem myself.
There we go.
James Harden's still doing it, man. He's still doing it.
He is doing the thing.
What's your take on 34-year-old James Harden?
Well, congratulations, Houston Rockets, or insert 2 seed in the Western Conference come April, whatever. Your reward for being the 2 seed is facing the red-hot Minnesota Timberwolves, the red-hot Golden State Warriors, or the red-hot Los Angeles Clippers with James Harden playing at an absurd level as of late. Over the past 14 games of the season, James Harden's averaging 26 points, 9 assists, 6 boards on league average efficiency, like 58% true shooting. But then also in that very, very, I don't even think Norman Powell's back yet, is he?
I don't think so.
And it's like
I know where you're going.
Yeah,
I know where you're going.
It's like I'm making like a Harden thing into a Clipper thing, but with the fact that Norman Powell's coming back, but in the same breath, more Zubac, can't forget Big Zoo having a incredible stretch, an incredible season, honestly. We kind of just called it early, but Kawhi's like probably back for real this time. Last 7 games, 24-6, coming off 33 against a healthy Cavs team in a win. And anytime you beat the Cavs, you have my attention. Over the stretch, Kawhi is, league average efficiency. If we drop this even more, go to the last 5 games where it really felt noticeable that Kawhi was playing, some really, really good ball again. Then the true shooting goes up to 62%, so like +4 league average wise. So again, yeah, your reward for being the 2 seed is you get to face one of those 3 teams, and also like they're all teams I feel really, really good about, like from a preparation standpoint. Like Ty Lue in a playoff series, I feel pretty solid with. Steve Kerr in a playoff series, I feel good about. Obviously, like Harden being back to this level, man, is huge for them. Because Harden's still one of the how many better playmakers / decision makers are there still currently than Harden? Like
Probably like 4.
Yeah.
Like
And
it's like Jokic, Luka, Trey.
Hallie.
Is Trey? Halliburton is. Halliburton is.
Trey was the one I was kind of
Trey.
left off.
Trey or Hart, I kind of make similar reads in a lot of ways.
The things you like and hate are probably going to be like somewhat similar. I think Trey would probably make more difficult, like
home runs.
Yeah.
I can see that. I also think Trey's handle and agility allows him to get into spots in the defense that Harden can't get to anymore.
Yeah.
Which is kind of one of my points. Like, you talked about how you thought the best pick and roll defense for Harden was like effective switching, but then he's like still like the second best isolation scorer in the league, so he's just cooking switches. I actually think the best defense for Harden in the pick and roll at this point is like a deep drop, because I feel like Harden just kind of struggles to attack space at this point, and you kind of just have to live with the pull up 3, like hope he goes cold.
Yeah. By the way, to defend myself, I said that take very early in the season. So loud for
and it was fair. It was fair. Like, it was a very good point. And if you have the facilities to do that, like if you have Bam, switch. I mean, if you have
Mobley, maybe bad example. I didn't watch that game, so I don't know how bad was it.
I didn't watch that game though, but that clip was nasty.
Yeah.
That clip was nasty.
But to your point, like Harden's averaging 9 points per game out of isolation opportunities. He's in the 82nd percentile in efficiency overall. Nobody has more isolation scoring possessions per game than James Harden. Hold on, let me make sure that synergy is. Yeah, no, it's literally, bro. We were talking about Shai and his isolation usage. Harden literally has 1.5 more possessions per game out of ISO than Shai does.
Yeah,
and Shai's number 2 in the league, and then he has 2 whole more isolation possessions than Tatum, who's 3.
Yep. It's funny, he regressed from this complete dude. If you look at the 2019 isolation scoring numbers, he was outscoring all of the teams in the league. And now it's now he's just outscoring all of the players in the league. He regressed instead of outscoring all the teams. He's a crazy player, dude. I think in the playoffs we're still gonna see those tour dates because he's shooting 45% on 2-pointers. So his scoring does very much hinge on the 3 ball is falling and he's getting the calls because his free throw rates have sneakily been back up to 7.5 a game, making 87% of his free throws. So that's a huge part of his scoring. I think, yes, the tour dates are going to be there, and like I said, it's because it's very reliant on the 3 ball. It's kind of what we talked about with Luka, except Luka has a mid-range and he still shoots 80% on layups or whatever. James Harden doesn't shoot well at the rim anymore. He has a mid-range game, but it's not a super efficient, you can fall back on a 48-50% mid-range. It's not that. So yeah, the 2-point scoring is going to be really up and down, and he's going to need to get hot from 3. The thing is, though, with Kawhi looking the way he has, James Harden doesn't need to be this mega 2-point scorer. He that load is taken away. Norman Powell, Kawhi, Zubac's being an absolute mismatch creates a lot of problems. Them being an elite defense creates a lot of problems, and Harden's been pretty decent defensively this season. I think this has been one of his better defensive seasons in terms of consistency, because he does have his moments, don't get me wrong, where he's just I can't remember I was watching a game recently where he just lost the same guy on 3 backdoor cuts, and it was just, what are we doing? But Harden is still a top 30 player in the league.
Okay.
I
have a fun exercise.
Top 30-ish.
A fun exercise for you.
Let's hear it.
The West playoff. Well, really quickly before I get there, to the free throw rate stuff. Out of every player in the league, there's 36 of them that have had at least 120 isolation scoring possessions. James Harden is second in free throw rate, and the only one that's rated higher is Paolo.
Interesting. Very interesting.
But then after that, it's Harden, then Zion, which doesn't.
Yep, makes sense. Bunch of big body contact. Lakers are up by 40 or 30 or something. What the hell?
You love to see it. You love to see it.
Let's hear your exercise.
So we're gonna skip Dallas, bro. Okay, the funniest thing can happen if Phoenix misses the play-in, Dallas gets into the play-in, and I don't know with their injury luck. That would just be, I don't know, for some, or what if Portland sneaks in? That would actually be hilarious. Portland's not too far out.
Yeah, dude, I'm scared that one of those teams is gonna just fold in the play-in, and we're gonna end up with the Mavericks or the Suns in the playoffs. And I do not want to see either of those teams in the playoffs.
The Mavs accidentally beat the Kings.
Yeah, and then they beat the Timberwolves missed the playoffs or something. I'd be so upset.
And we get Thunder Mavs, but nobody healthy for the Mavs round 1.
Yeah, that'd be nasty work.
4 straight 40 pieces.
Good for the Shai agenda, though.
Yeah. Him getting 35 on 7 free throws.
Juicing the playoff net rating.
Yeah, right. There we go. The playoff true shooting percentage numbers.
Yep.
So you said something that kind of got my attention, right? You said that James Harden's still probably a top 30 player, right? Which, at the current moment, I'm not even going to argue.
I'll say I'll be a little bit more laid back. We'll say 35. I don't have a list in front of me, but that feels like a safe spot. 35. Sure. We'll say 35.
Yeah, not even going to argue with you. Out of the teams 1 through 8 in the West currently. So OKC, Houston, Denver, LA, Memphis, Golden State, Clippers, Timberwolves, which I think we would all agree those are the 8 teams we would like to see make the playoffs. No shade, although maybe some shade intended to Sacramento, Phoenix, Dallas, Portland. Team by team, how many top 50 players does each team have?
Ooh, that's fun. Okay, Thunder, I think, have 3. I think it's Shea, Chet, and J-Dub.
Who would be the closest? Like, on outside in?
Probably Hartenstein, right? I feel like that's their 4th guy.
That's fair.
I'm looking at my list right now that I made earlier this year, and I had Hartenstein 59.
You know a guy that I, like, love, that I'm glad is, like, starting, I've always loved, like, dating back to college, is, like, getting some more juice. I think right now, Casey Wallace is so effing good.
Yes. Casey Wallace has been hooping.
He's been
so
good.
The offense has been coming together. So Thunder, I'm going to say 3.
Okay.
Rockets, just 1, right?
Sengun,
and I think Amen Thompson's like, I had Amen Thompson 60 on my last list. So like Şengün is right in there. I actually think they just have a ton of like top 75 guys.
Yeah.
So I'd say Şengün is the one. I think Denver, Jokic, Murray, because Murray's been back to form, very sneaky. We haven't talked about that on the podcast yet. Murray's been like back to peak form.
So you said Denver at 4?
Two.
Oh, wait. My bad.
I would just say Jokic and Murray are top 50.
I don't know why I heard 4.
Yeah, I would say the closest is probably, is it still Aaron Gordon? Or is it MPJ? I don't know. In the playoffs, give me Aaron Gordon.
Gordon's been, like, shooting the shit out of the 3 this year.
Yeah, I was saying, in the playoffs, give me Gordon's defensive versatility and stuff. So I'll say Aaron Gordon's the closest. Lakers, Luka, LeBron. Is Reeves top 50? Because, okay, so here's
50 is like that feels like the safe number, because I feel like anything lower than that in terms like, or like either way, like if you said 60, I'm like, I think that's low.
Okay, so on my last list, I had Reeves 54.
So yeah, like yeah.
And here's the thing, this was before I think he's been better than like when I made this list.
Yeah.
But it's tough because I had Norman Powell 48. And is Reeves better than Norman Powell? That's been like a debate I've been seeing on Twitter.
I think so.
And I had Derek White 44. Do you think Reeves is better than Derek White?
I would probably stop you there, but I also think like that Derek White number might be low.
Ooh.
Like even if it's a couple spots low. Like I think I would take Reeves over Norman Powell currently. Like I think I would take Reeves over Norman Powell.
So would you take Derek White over Siakam? Because I had Siakam 41.
I can understand Siakam over Derek White.
Okay, I had Jared Allen 40.
Okay.
I had Zubats 39, which might be a hot take.
That would have been a hot take coming into the year, but like,
yeah,
that's pretty like spot on.
Like, so would you take Zubats or Derek White? Like I feel like it's the range. That's the range, right? Like that's how I'm. And then I also in that same range I have like Jamal Murray, Porzingis, Franz Wagner, De'Aaron Fox at this point is kind of around that range-ish.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll give you Reeves top 50. So we'll say 3. I think that's about as close as you can get. Grizzlies, I think they have Jaren. I had Bane 51 on my list.
Bummer.
But I think he's been playing better, so I'm going to give him the top 50 as well.
Okay.
I think he's been playing better recently, and then Ja Morant is quietly rounding back to form.
Yeah.
Like right before the playoffs, so I'm going to put him in the top 50 as well.
# March Hoops.
Yeah. So we'll say 3 for the Grizzlies. Warriors, 3. I don't even have to think about it. For the Warriors.
Oh, yeah.
Draymond Green is a top 50 player. I know people listening to this are going to be baffled. He is the best defender on the planet, and I will die on that hill. Did you see what he did to Giannis the other day without Steph?
Draymond is probably a prick, but in terms of basketball ability, Draymond Green is probably still a top 50 player.
And Jimmy and Steph are obvious.
Jimmy's
been awesome. Timberwolves
2.
is interesting. Are your 2 Ant and Gobert? Are those your 2? Or are you saying Ant and Randall?
My 2 were actually Ant and Randall.
Because I prefer Gobert to Randall still.
Okay.
And
And I'm not gonna lie, I was almost close to just saying Ant, and like them both being like kind of close to being.
I was gonna say
close to 50.
I was gonna say on my list. So remember, I said I had Bane 51. I had
Yeah.
Gobert 49.
I thought you were a Gobert stan.
I was. I think he's regressed defensively this year. I think before
When
this
did you
year,
make the list?
this was probably like 2 months ago, maybe.
Oh, see, I gave you credit for being early on Zubac when you just like evaluated him early season. Oh, great. I'm about to say like, I'm totally like looking at this. Think you were evaluating this like going into the season, like, oh my god, Zubac's 39. If you told me that in the preseason, I would thought you were insane.
No, this is.
I gotta
Like
reevaluate.
2 months ago. This was a mid-season. This was a mid-season.
This is like
I'm like,
January
no, I had
15th
Mobley. I had
hoops.
Mobley like 15th before the season. No, yeah. So Gobert, I think is like, yeah, Gobert before this year, I would have like 30th, but I think he's regressed defensively.
Yeah.
Hopefully he gets back to form in the playoffs because Timberwolves are scary. If so, I'm gonna say
We
Timberwolves.
talked about that.
I'm gonna say 2, and it could be Gobert or Randall, and then Ant.
And then Clippers.
And then the Clippers, I think it is 4.
So okay,
they're
hold on,
the
wait.
team
If we
with
go
the most.
through,
Is that where we just did that whole exercise? Is that where you were going with it? They have the most top 50 players.
I think it's arguable. But
Yeah.
also then in that case too, like we said OKC 3. That's okay. Houston 1 4, Denver 2 6, Lake 3. That's 9, 3. That's 12, 3. That's 15, 4. That's 19, 2. We'll call it 21. Okay, so never mind. I thought for some reason I thought that number was gonna be way higher. Because I'm like, dang, are we just saying that like all the good players in the league reside in the Western Conference
Well-
top 8?
Well, the Kings probably have 3 or 4 at this point.
Sabonis, Levine, DeMar.
And wait, I was gonna say Fox.
You were gonna say Fox. So what? 3?
Never mind. Ignore that. I mean, 3. They could have 3. They
Could
could
have
have
3. And then like even if we went to Dallas healthy, like Kyrie, AD,
Yup. And PJ Washington.
Phoenix,
Yep.
Katie Book,
Suns have 2. Trailblazers. They don't have any.
none.
Spurs have Wemby and Fox. Wemby and Fox.
Spurs have
is 2.
Wemby and Fox.
Pelicans
Pelicans
have
have
Zion.
Zion.
Trey Murphy. Dare I say Trey Murphy?
Trey's close. Like
Yes.
if he's not in there, Trey's
And the
close. I don't know
Jazz.
why I'm holding
Like
that.
you could still throw Marketing close to that range.
I don't think he would be in there, but he would be like he would be
Yeah,
close.
he'd be like one of the first guys off.
Yeah. And is
Yeah,
that-
no, I see where you were going with that. Because what? Yeah.
So, like, I said that for 2 reasons. Like, one, the West is just absurd. But 2, like, again, your reward with the Clippers rounding into shape right now, sitting pretty as the 7th seed, a game back of the 6th seed. Like, first off, and we've talked about this a lot, the playoff content is going to be insane. The offseason, the playoffs, I think, content-wise, are probably 2 of the easier times of year, honestly.
Yeah.
For content, because it's either always games going on that could be talked about that are high stakes, or it's just like always shit you could just make up. Excuse my language, but like that's just the truth.
Yeah.
But like the fact that like a team, the 7 seed, who at best can win 52 games, that more realistically is probably going to win like 47 or whatever, has I guess this could be like to round out. Can the Clippers, we've acknowledged that they have 4. They have 4 top 50 players, right? Can the Clippers at this stage still, at any given moment, have the best player on the floor regardless of the series?
No.
Okay.
No. I think you look at the West, I think there are 2 teams, I think that there's no scenario where you have a better player than Shai or Jokic.
There's a scenario where they have a better player than Luka? LeBron?
Well, with the way we were kind of talking about Luka, like if it's 11% rim volume Luka, I think
I can't hear you.
like dare I say, I mean, I don't know, because I still think I need to see more from Kawhi to make that claim.
Sure.
But I think the Lakers are like the border. Okay, do you think?
Oh wait, I didn't even say the Warriors.
I was gonna say that was where I was gonna go. Like, do you think? I mean, I do think Steph's the best player in that series, but like, would you be shocked if Kawhi was the best player in that series? Like, if that's just how it rounded out? Like, that wouldn't shock me.
Not necessarily.
I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, I would expect Steph to be the best player.
You know, I'm gonna word this differently. Not even if Kawhi, it wouldn't shock me if Steph wasn't the best player on the floor, because then I could just say like Jimmy could just have one of those insane series,
or Draymond against Portland type series.
It's 2025, but sure.
2025, he held Giannis to 5 of 16, dude. I'm telling you. Watch out, dude. I'm telling you, we're going to get to the playoffs, and Draymond's going to be peak defensively, and teams are not going to know what to do. Denver better be shivering in their timbers if they do not see Golden State round one. As they just beat them without Jokic and Murray.
You said Denver better be shivering?
Yeah.
So basically, wait. So you say Denver like doesn't want to see anybody else but Golden State?
No, I'm saying they don't want to see Golden State.
Oh, wait. Am I tripping, or did you word that wrong then?
I said Denver should be shivering in their timbers at the thought of seeing Golden State.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what I said. That's what I meant to say. I hope I said that.
I don't know. I think I just overcomplicated that.
Dude, what the hell are we talking about?
I have no clue. We've been yapping for a solid 16 minutes.
Let's just talk about Shai again.
Bro. Can we just talk about that commercial with him and Donovan Mitchell? Oh, my God.
What was it? I didn't see it.
You're supposed to fall into the. It was the. I don't even remember what like. It was the meat off commercial thing that like went back.
Skims, bro. They had a commercial.
You're not as online as I thought you were. I apologize. All right.
I hope not. If we're talking about meat off, bro, I hope I'm not online that much. I'm gonna stay in my little echo chamber and look at the camera and yap, bro. I'm just gonna yap. I'm gonna keep writing scripts, bro. I'm not.
But yeah, no. Shai is better than peak Steph, better than peak Giannis. You know what? Listen. Chicken curry, Asian curry, Steph Curry, Thunder in 5.
Damn, that's a good note to end off on. But I'm gonna end off on an even crazier note. I'm gonna take it a step further, because this is something I've been pondering. And I don't know, I wasn't ready to get this takeoff when we were talking about him, but now I'm kind of ready.
Your mind changed in an hour and whatever change it is now?
I just feel like I had to warm up. I'm a little bit more, I'm like in a comfortable place. Now, only the real ones that aren't going to act like
shoot around.
The real ones are still listening, right? Like the people at the beginning of the episode might hear what I say, might hear me say something crazy and click off. We're in like, there's like 8 people listening right now, so these people like they'll respect what I'm about to say. Hopefully, it could just be 8 people that I've gained as fans over the time of the last couple seasons, and they might not like what I'm about to say.
I'm ready to throw my glasses off in shock.
If the Thunder win the championship in convincing fashion, say they go like 16-4. Shai has like an uber efficient 33 point per game playoff run. They have like an elite playoff offense and defense. They're just this historic team. Shai does everything we expect him to do in the playoffs. Is there a best player in the world debate?
I think, and this is not me dramatically throwing my glasses off. Like, I think by default of ring culture, and this is the point. I'm so glad you said that, because this is going to be the point that I was going to say earlier. Like, going back to my initial, how like we started the show off with like crowning players, or just like what you described as like I know what I'm watching. I get not saying Shai's the best player on the planet, because that's just how like I feel like for at least a decade that's how we've like been around ring culture. It's in order to be crowned as the best player on the planet, you have to have won a ring. It's why I feel like universally the moment Jokic won a ring goes, yeah, okay, he's the best player on the planet. It's nothing to talk about.
Yeah, 100%.
Same with Giannis. Same with Steph, even although that's a little bit different. But like I feel like Kawhi for a full year and a half to 2 years, it was like, nope, it doesn't matter. Kawhi's the best player on the planet because of the playoff run,
which I never thought was the case. I never thought he was number one, but everyone did.
But everyone did, because he won the title. He had a historic playoff run, a legendary, a very well remembered playoff run, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So I think just naturally, if that is not the case, then I think we're just being hypocrites, which, I mean, the media is, basically always is, but,
And
So the answer should be yes.
And if I take it a step further, if Denver like flames out round one and then that happens, dare I say, like,
Again, he would have to be.
Would the consensus lean towards Shai at that point?
No, because I think it would still depend on how Jokic looks. So, example.
If Jokic just goes crazy and the Nuggets lose.
Yeah.
But what if they lose because they can't defend anybody? And then it comes back to Jokic is a liability.
Yeah. Okay, sure.
Dude,
but I still don't think it would be consensus.
No, not okay. I used the wrong word. Not consensus, but more people would lean towards Shai than Jokic.
Oh, okay, sure.
Do you think that'd be the case?
Okay, well, let me flip that. Do you think that matters more, or do you think it would be even more damaging, in air quotes, for Shai en route to winning a title blows through Denver, like second round or conference finals even, as opposed to Denver losing round one? Would it be more damaging and more beneficial for Shai's best player in the world candidacy if en route to winning a title he blows by Denver in the conference finals and
it would have to
that
be,
argument?
It would have to be either so I think a round one exit with Jokic performing poorly would be the most damaging and like most favorable for Shai. But the only instance where I think it'd be more beneficial for Shai is if he just thoroughly outplays Jokic in a series. Like, we just see it. We just see it happen.
He's
like,
attacking Jokic the entire series.
Yeah, it's like a 4-game series, and Shai is just far and away the best player on the court.
Yeah.
That would be the scenario where it's like people are leaning towards Shai now, I think.
Okay.
It's interesting, though, because what you brought up about, like, the winning a championship to become the best player in the world thing, I was, like, pretty... In 2022...
Universally.
Yeah, when Jokic won his second MVP in 2022, there was a voice in the back of my head that was like, Jokic is the best player in the world. But I couldn't fully commit to it. So I still had Giannis won after 2022.
And the reason why Giannis was one was because after 2021.
Right, Giannis was one, and I even think Giannis was better in 2022 than he was in 21. Middleton got hurt, and then they lost to that elite Celtics team in 7.
That Giannis series against Boston, now that you bring that up, that, by the way, led to Bud getting fired, which I feel like they just wanted to fire him just for firing sakes.
No, didn't Bud get fired after the Miami series?
Oh, yeah, I'm making that out. My bad. Yeah, okay, see, I almost turned that into just later in the Bucks. My bad, keep going.
No, so after that Celtics series, I thought Giannis was the best player in the world, and I thought Jokic was a close second. But there was a part of me in the back of my head, like I said, I knew what I was watching with Jokic.
Yeah.
And now looking back, if I like revise my own history, I feel like I can say Jokic was better in 2022.
Yeah.
And he was better. And like that's what I think people are going to do with Shai. If the Thunder get through and Shai performs just like this in the playoffs, people are going to revise this season and be like, "Oh, Shai was already number 1."
But I think it's going to be a while before we get there, though. Like, it's not going to be like this summer, I don't think. I think it's going to be we're 3 years down the line, and Shai's on MVP 2, Shai's on ring 2, and it's going to be like, well, Shai's peak started in this year. This was the year Shai won. This was the year Shai was the best player on the planet. And it's because X reason. It was like, okay, but like he was legitimately the best player in the regular season. And they just so happened to win a ring. That's how this works.
That's such a good point because I feel like that happens and then history tells a different story than living it because my mind immediately goes to like if you go to old forums, I used to just like scour the web for old forums. It was like unanimous during the early 2000s that Kevin Garnett was better than all of these guys that ended up winning a bunch of rings. Like Kevin Garnett was the best player in the world with Shaq. And then now history tells us that Kobe was better, Duncan was better during these years. And like during that time, everyone thought KG was better, but they never won. So like the history got wiped.
Yeah. Like, and to that credit, it's almost like the same reason why KG, in terms of his overall career, is kind of underrated.
Very
because like
underrated.
he won his ring in 08 where he wasn't in his. That's not the first year you think KG, you think 04. Like that's
04,
the
easily.
You think easily, right? He didn't win a ring in 04.
Right.
It would be the equivalent of Shai winning MVP this year, not winning a ring, and then in 2029,
like 2031, and then Chet's the best player in the world, and Shai's the number 2,
and he wins a ring. Like that's what the equivalent of that would be, basically.
Yeah.
Speaking of the revisionist history thing, really quickly, who do you think was the best player in 2019?
I thought it was Steph, actually.
Is that the year they lost to Toronto?
Yes, I thought Steph was the best player in the world that year.
Okay.
And I thought KD was second.
Okay.
And I think it was like I actually thought Steph and KD like had a gap over everyone else that year.
18, is it the same for you?
18 was LeBron.
Even are we like even in the regular season?
In the regular season, it was Harden probably.
Right, but so okay, that I'm glad we got to that point because that was kind of going to be the point I was going to make anyway.
So I see what you're saying because if it was just 19 regular season, I would have Giannis and Harden as the top two.
Yeah, but 18, Steph won, 19, Kawhi won. So and then Braun was going to be highly ranked anyway because he's on ring 3 at this point.
Yeah,
8 straight finals.
Yeah.
19, Kawhi just won a title, so we're going to crown Kawhi, and now, by Harden. Even though Harden has had, for back-to-back years, in this time frame, a top 1 or top 2 regular season, he didn't win a title, so how dare I put him in the top 2 conversation?
In 20, he was a top 3 regular season player, too.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah. So, yeah, I'm with you. I also think, can I say that the inverse of this is what happened with Anthony Davis, where Anthony Davis was arguably the best he's ever been in 2019, but the Pelicans sucked. Then he goes to the Lakers, and now all of a sudden he's in best in the world discussions and because he wins a championship when he was just as good the year before.
Yeah. Or
and
even
no one cared about AD in 2019.
It sucks how I'm about to say this. I actually do like the guy. You remember in 23, right before Denver, LA, I do like him a lot. Jason Timp or whatever.
Yeah.
The winner of this series and whoever wins the finals is the best player to play in it between like AD and Jokic.
And then Jokic just
we don't have to talk about the result.
Obliterated.
But okay, guys, can we just acknowledge that it was a fluke? He's shooting like 5 of these a game off of one leg from 40 feet. It's a fluke, all right?
That's tough.
Fraud, I tell you.
That's tough. No, but yeah, no, it's a valid point. It's a very valid point. Crazy. This wasn't even planned. This whole ring culture segment. I'm rocking with it though. That was interesting. You got any other
acknowledge what you see. Like again, I understand if you're not gonna crown like Shai currently the best player on the planet, but just don't have like the revisionist history about it. Like if you still think Jokic is the best player on the planet, that's fine. But like I said,
I do think
sure.
Jokic is cool. Yeah, I think Jokic's number 1.
But like I think Jokic, barring insanely bad playoff run, plus Shai insanely like historic playoff run, that should be the same regardless of who wins the title at the end of the year.
Yeah, I'm with you. But
because if that's the case, Tatum should be the best player on the planet. Now it's a little bit different because Tatum had this insane finals run, but still, he won a title last year.
So let me ask you this then, because I think coming into the season, both you and I agreed that Jokic and Giannis were like a clear top 2. Is that Jokic and Shai now? Is that a clear top 2?
I think it's a clear top 3.5, and the 3.5 is like I'm like waiting on Luka.
Yeah, I think that's a clear top 4 if you boil it down.
And even then, I think the better way to describe it is I thought it was a clear. No, before last year, I thought it was kind of a clear 1. I thought Jokic was basically by himself, and then last year happened. I was like, it's probably more like Jokic, and then Giannis is like right there with them, and then Shai, Luka, Embiid, etc. Now I think they're all kind of sort of on like somewhat similar playing fields.
Fair.
If not exactly equal playing
fields. And we're 1 year removed from Wemby being in that tier as well. So,
well, unfortunately, the Spurs are never going to win 45 games again. So, bummer.
What is that? What's that from?
I don't know. I'm just hating on the Spurs for no reason.
Okay, we need to get out of here. It just started pouring, which means my mic's going to start picking up all the taps. So, great timing. Let's get out of here. I'm not even going to do the whole social media promotion segment. By now, if you're listening, you know where to find us. If you're watching on YouTube, link in the description. I need to get out of here. Last thing I need to say, Hoop Venue merch coming in a month. Tap in, support. We'll catch you guys episode 34.